What's up, guys? It's your boys Taylor and Taylor coming back at you with episode 22 of the Empirical Scouting Podcast. We recently detailed some wide receivers, some defensive tackles, some edges, and with this upcoming draft actually, I think it's exactly 2 weeks away. It's time for our mock draft 3.0. This is going to be more like a what would we do mock draft, where we're going to be working as a team to try to fill each individual slot and get the best possible players for each team. So Taylor, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Well, 1.01 Chicago. A lot of things we could do here.
Yeah,
Okay.
a whole infinite, possibility there. Shit. Yeah. So I mean, let's just not delay the obvious here. I think we both can be in agreement that Caleb Williams would be the guy. For both
just go
of us
ahead
here.
and put him. Yeah,
Especially post Justin Fields trade.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even with before the Justin Fields trade, we're going Caleb Williams all day.
Yeah, but I think once that was completed, it became much more clear what the path forward was, right?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. So we'll move it over to 1.02 with the Washington Commanders. Obviously, a lot of talk that's been going on with who they're going to select. Who would you select in this situation? Because I have a feeling it's going to be different from who other people would select.
Yeah. So I think the consensus is either Daniels or May.
I mean, especially after moving Sam Howell, they can't skip on either one of them.
Yeah, and I think there's a whole lot of smoke screens going on right now about Jaden Daniels in Washington and New England, it seems like. I personally would draft Drake May here. I have Drake May above Jaden Daniels, and I think he offers a higher ceiling for a more translatable skill set that could last longer, personally.
That makes sense. I think I personally, Jaden Daniels and Drake May are a lot closer than other people make it seem to be. And, since you're leaning Jaden Daniels, I think we should just go ahead or Drake May, sorry. I think we're going to go ahead and give him Drake May. I don't think that the talent level is too big of a difference. I do agree that Drake May could potentially have a higher ceiling as a more all-around quarterback. So we're going to go ahead and give the Washington Commanders Drake May. Already started off pretty different than a lot of other people. So we'll move it over to pick number 3, the New England Patriots. New regime over there. They don't really have a quarterback. I think they brought in Jacoby Brissett to play quarterback right now. So they have now announced that they're willing to let him be the starting quarterback in 2024. Whether that's smoke screen or not, we don't know. But what are you leaning in this position?
I mean, I'm kind of interested to hear, since this is a team effort, what your thought process is, because I personally don't feel comfortable. I don't value Jaden Daniels as a pick here. And I think that's the consensus. If I'm controlling New England, I wouldn't be drafting Jaden Daniels here. And I think I would be letting Jacoby play out the year. But that's, considering I don't see a lot of talent across this roster.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't think they really want to, go into the year with Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback of the whole year. Maybe at the start if they had a younger quarterback. Yeah, that talent is pretty bare. They need a lot of positions, and especially 2 positions that have high talent here on the board. But at the end of the day, you need a quarterback. I would say personally, if I'm running New England, I could see myself waiting on quarterback. They have so many holes you want to kind of fill, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that you might want to fill before you get it bringing in a young quarterback, especially one that you're not, it's not a slam dunk at all. So, what position are you leaning at 3 if we skip over Jaden Daniels here?
I'd be between Marvin Harrison and Joe Alt personally.
Yeah.
You look across this roster, and I don't want to even say blue chip but like just guys that I kind of view as like a quality players. You got two safeties, a corner who got hurt last year and only played so much time, and then Ramondre is a pretty good running back, but how like, and then you got a right tackle that's decent.
Yeah.
But you don't have really any receiving talent. Yeah, you look at this roster and David Andrews is a very good center, but he's aging, and then there's no receiving talent. Connor McDermott's lined up to be their starting left tackle, which I don't. So yeah, I mean, you look across this roster, and I would have to be leaning Joe Alt or Marvin Harrison here over. If we're passing on Jaden Daniels, you got a decent secondary, you got a good running back room, a good center, good right tackle, but you don't have any receiving talent aside from like Hunter Henry, and then I don't really have a lot of confidence that like there's the left tackle of the future on this roster at all. So I think those are the two things I kind of be looking at. I think you probably would be leaning Marvin in this situation between those two.
Yeah, me personally, I'm leaning towards Marvin Harrison. It's not a bad position to be in, but it's one of those positions that could end up being bad in like 2 or 3 years because there's three guys, and Jane Daniels has been talked about as the QB2 for a while. Then you have easily the wide receiver 1 to most, and the offensive tackle 1 as well. So you have your pick of the litter, and those are pretty much your three biggest needs. So you can really fill one of those positions guaranteed. However, if you pick wrong, it's going to look very bad coming like 2027, 2028. It could look really bad depending on who you pick.
Yeah, so I'm actually leaning the opposite direction of you, and it's one of those things where like if Marvin becomes what Marvin is supposed to be, it's going to look really bad. But
yeah.
I mean,
I'm cool with Joel. I'm definitely cool with Joel in this situation. They desperately need it.
Yeah, it's just here's the thing: you got a guy that's getting a 31-year-old former 6th round pick lined up to be your starting left tackle who has never played more than 400 snaps in a year, pretty much, or and never been anything above mediocre. So I mean, put Marvin on that team all you want, but if they can't even get the ball to him, because the quarterback can't be protected or the quarterback can't throw, what good does that do? Really, is my thought process. So I'm kind of thinking like, you go Joe Alt here, and then your second, third round picks, you could potentially go grab a wide receiver that's still pretty good, and then one of those second tier quarterbacks.
That's the difference, and that's something we've talked about for a while, and especially in our friend group is wide receiver. Especially in this group, you could come back and grab a wide receiver day 2. That's gonna be really good. You might not be able to. There's gonna be a bigger step down in the tackle in day 2.
100%.
Wide receiver. So
I
let's go ahead and
there's
give
going to be a lot of tackles.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the kind of top tier tackles are all going to go probably round 1. But yeah, go ahead and give the New England Patriots Joe Alt, and then we'll move over to Arizona at pick 4. I think we're going to be aligned in this one. It's pretty simple. They're really nervous right here. Are you thinking Marvin Harrison?
I was thinking JJ. No, I'm just kidding. Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. You have to give Marvin. I mean, they just lost Hollywood. This is the guy that everyone's pretty much penciled in to be the pick, assuming he makes it down there. I think it's just slam dunk. They're gonna take all 10 minutes just to field offers just because they can, but they'll have it written down already. So we'll move over to the LA Chargers new head coach Jim Harbaugh. This one's kind of tricky. Obviously, you have your quarterback in the future, so you don't have to do much with that. But they just lost pretty much all offensive weapons around them. Their defense it's always been one of those things where they have so much potential on paper, but then a lot of injuries kind of ravaged them. So What are you looking at for the Chargers here at 5, especially now that Joe Alt's off the board?
I probably would be thinking. I probably would be thinking Malik Neighbors. To be honest, I think. Uh, you know, I don't have a lot of faith in Quentin Johnson. I think Josh Palmer is a, okay, complimentary type receiver. And then Will Disley, Hayden Hurst at tight end, like that's nothing really that to get me excited.
Yeah.
So I'm as high as I am on Malik Neighbors. I think that's a slam dunk for me with Justin Herbert.
I think it's the same thing. I think the Chargers are in a great position if the board fell this way to where they're either going to take Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors. I know we're both aligned where we really want to put Malik Neighbors as our wide receiver 1. If not 1B to Marvin Harrison Jr.'s 1A. So I think it's pretty much a slam dunk for them as well, giving the Chargers, giving Justin Herbert, possibly an upgrade at the wide receiver position. So good to see there. So we will move over to number 6, the New York Giants. This one's going to be kind of weird because it's, do you believe in Daniel Jones or do you not believe in Daniel Jones? Would you be willing to look at a quarterback in this position at 6, knowing you're paying
Yes.
Daniel Jones
Yeah.
still?
Yeah, I'd be fine taking a quarterback here if there's one that theoretically me or Joe Shane and Joe Shane and Dabble believe in and have graded this highly. I think you can get out of Daniel Jones's contract like after this season. So let him spend the year. Like I don't think he's going to make issues either. He doesn't strike me as the type. So let him spend the year like working with a guy, if necessary. If that's the decision we make, what do you think? Do you believe in Daniel Jones, or alternatively, do you believe in your Lord and Savior Drew Lock?
No, I do not believe in either of them. Even though I do like to poke fun that I still believe in Drew Lock. He has his moments still. I'll give him that. But no, I'd be fully on board taking Jane Daniels here. He has that upside. He brings that electricity that a lot of New York fans really want to see. I think pretty much they're all done with Daniel Jones. He has an injury history, he has a fumbling issue. He had one good year, got paid off of it. That's always good to see. But I think you draft your quarterback of the future here, especially now that both those wide receivers are off the board and Joe Alt's off the board as well. I think I would get my quarterback come 2025 if he doesn't take over in 2024 right here, personally.
And so, if you were picking a quarterback, you would want it to be Jaden Daniels.
I'd pick Jaden Daniels here personally. You on the JJ train?
I would pick JJ personally. Yeah, I here's my thing with Jaden Daniels versus JJ. I think Jaden Daniels has a lot of talent. Obviously, I was a Jaden Daniels fan in the summer more than most people. My thing with Jaden Daniels is that he will stick around until he can't stick around anymore in the pocket, and then he takes off to run. And when he gets in that, when he flips that switch to run, he's actually becoming a running back. There's great things about that, but when you're built the way he is, I don't have a lot of confidence in that. Number one, staying healthy. Number two, succeeding in that type of playing style. He's not like a out of the pocket playmaker like May and Williams are. In terms of scrambling behind the line to make a throw, and then on top of that, I think he doesn't necessarily operate in the one of the main areas of the field that you need to operate in to succeed in the next level, and that's the middle of the field. Jaden Daniels, I hate saying it like this, but I feel like he's been overrated throughout this process. And I know people are going to say the same thing about JJ, but I think JJ offers a lot of the high upside things that people want to believe that Jaden does. It's just JJ wasn't as flashy about it because of the Michigan offense.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that. I just think, I don't know. I think drafting JJ would be kind of like drafting Daniel Jones. I'm not comparing the two at all, but it gives me that kind of vibe where you're drafting off the hope that this guy does have all the tools that you've seen and puts it all together, rather than take a guy like Jane Daniels that has that elite, the elite running ability. And we know he has a solid arm. So, and we've seen it, put all on paper the last year and a half. So that's my reason
So
for Jane Daniels.
my rebuttal real quick would be just that I think
Mhm.
JJ has shown more like raw talent potential, like with the tools, than Daniel Jones did in college. And I think JJ has shown that Daniel Jones has been a great runner at the next level in many ways, but like JJ's shown he's more athletic, he's got a stronger arm, and he can operate without turning the ball over more than Daniel Jones did. Obviously they played in different situations
Yeah.
in college, but here's my offer since we're tied and deadlocked is let's just flip a coin.
Hmm. Let's flip the
You want
coin.
heads or tails?
I'll take tails.
Tails it is.
All right,
So
Jane
we're gonna go
Daniels.
with Jane Daniels to the Giants.
There you go. I think fans would be more happy with that anyway, personally. So we'll move over
Texas
to pick
fans.
7 with the Tennessee Titans. They pretty much possibly got that quarterback of the future. I don't think they're going to be looking at JJ McCarthy here. They brought in some veteran wide receivers around him. They did just lose Derrick Henry. What you looking at here at 7 for the Tennessee Titans?
I think the three guys that I would be considering are Bowers, Odunze, and Fashanu. Olu Fashanu.
Yeah.
Although adding Ridley does help a little bit too with the potential thought process of wanting to add a Bowers or Odunze. But
Mhm.
where are you at? What are you thinking?
I think what they're trying to do is see what they have with Will Levis. So if I'm in that mindset of like I'm trying to surround Will Levis with talent, I think I would personally probably go Olu, protect my young quarterback. He has weapons that he could use. Now, obviously, Roma didn't say would be an upgrade to that wide receiver room, especially when you have DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, who are both either on the wrong side of 30 or about to be. And Rome can learn from two really, really good wide receivers in the NFL and then take over kind of as that main guy come the next year or two. And hopefully paired with Will Levis. However, I think if I've already given that money out to those veteran receivers for the next year or two, I have a solid running back already. I would personally want to protect my young QB with a guy who's going to be with him for the next 4 or 5 years in Olu Fashanu. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think
Okay.
that's the pick.
Yeah. I just think it's too it's just too easy of a pick to where like I do like the idea of giving him another weapon. Don't get me wrong, you know me, but I got to protect my young quarterback here.
With Atlanta, I think it's pretty clear what the direction should be. There's three guys available that all fit kind of what even the hot rumor is with what Atlanta's
Yeah,
going to do. It's Mitchell or Arnold, basically the top corner, or it's going to
yeah,
be Verse or Turner, the top edge, or Latu if
yeah.
that's the direction you want to go. I love Latu. It
Mhm.
depends on medicals there. I would just say I have Verse graded higher than Turner. I can
Mhm. Yeah.
understand taking Turner. I think both can fit the scheme. Um, do you have a preference on either one?
No, I don't. I think Dallas Turner gives you that upside to where he could be. I think Verse is a little bit closer to what his ceiling is, which is very, very, very good. However, I think I'm kind of done with taking those shots on like just young athletic guys. And I'm not saying Dallas Turner hasn't put it all together. It's just I think Jerry Verse may be a little bit more safer option in this situation. He's also extremely good as well.
Yeah, I'm completely okay with taking Jared Verse personally.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, I just want an edge in this situation. I don't think, but at day two, you're not really. I don't think there's gonna be an edge that I really love unless somehow Chop fell. So, and I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah, so Chicago at 9. We just drafted Caleb Williams. So obviously, we have DJ Moore still. We got some weapons. Brought in DeAndre Swift.
Keenan
Paid some guys on the
Allen,
defensive side of the ball. Keenan Allen. Yeah, how do I forget about Keenan Allen?
Cole
So,
Kmet,
yeah,
Gerald Everett.
yeah. The Jared
So,
Everett signing was very weird to me, but we don't have to get into that.
I mean, I think it makes somewhat sense in the way that I think Gerald Everett can play kind of an H-back situation more than
Yeah,
even playing tight end straight up.
yeah.
So, like, Everett can be flexed out pretty
Agreed.
well. So, the thing about this pick here is you got the option of going with Odunze and letting
Yeah,
Odunze play on the outside next, and then, because Keenan's a slot at this
yeah.
point, or looking at a tackle. But if there's the only tackles left that I'd be willing to take this high are more right tackle than left tackle, and you just took a right tackle in the top 10 last year.
Yeah.
I think Odunze is the guy I probably would go. That
If
makes sense.
I'm building that offense, I'm picking Odunze. It's just too much fun. You draft the quarterback with his wide receiver. You already have Keenan Allen there. Obviously, he's on his last years. You have DJ Moore already there. You brought in DeAndre Swift. So I just think it's one of those things where I'm building a video game offense here, and I already have a pretty damn good defense as well. At least if they play like they did the second half of the year. But we will move over to Big Ten with the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers is presumably back, and they're still gonna have that hype. They still have that potential under Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I think over we have Aaron Rodgers. We kind of got to go all in now. So what are you thinking here?
This is a crappy spot for them, to be honest, because I would love to add a wide receiver for them.
Yeah,
Because their wide receiver depth chart is Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, and then a bunch of Jags.
yeah,
But then at the same time, I don't have a wide receiver I necessarily value this high, and I kind of would like to just say I would. I think I'm just gonna put my vote in for J.C. Latham or Talise Fuaga.
hmm
I have
I'm
Latham higher, but I think Fuaga kind of may offer a little bit more because I think he may be a more seamless transition if they want to put him inside and let Morgan Moses start the year at right tackle. But Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith you're lined up to be your starting tackles next year, and they're both kind of injury prone older vets at this point.
I'm cool with either one. I'm gonna defer to you with the offensive lineman in this situation, at least telling those two apart. I agree. I think they just need to protect Aaron Rodgers at this point. They desperately need wide receivers, but like we said earlier, can always get wide receivers a little bit later on. There's still some veterans out there as well, and there'll always be a couple trades that go down that came out of nowhere, especially during draft day.
I think I'm gonna roll with Fuaga.
Okay.
Um, I have Latham rated higher, but I think Fuaga, if you want to slide him in at like right guard right away and like let Vera Tucker play left guard, Vera Tucker can do that. Or alternatively, like you can mix and match, let Vera Tucker slide out to right tackle if Morgan Moses can't go, or if Fuaga can play right tackle. The mix and matching goes on and on.
Yeah.
I don't really have the confidence in Latham. I don't want to put Latham at guard, to be honest. That's the kind of guy I want to let him play right tackle right away. So I mean, I know that kind of sounds backwards, but it's I have logic with it. I promise.
It
I
makes
think
sense. I mean, you think Puaga's a little bit more diverse. He can play a couple more positions.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he may be. I think he may truly be a guard at the next level, but I think he's going to be a dang nasty guard if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But moving to the Vikings, I have
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Is it JJ for you too?
Yeah.
It's
It's
JJ for
JJ.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes too much sense. They desperately need a quarterback, especially with Justin Jefferson kind of mulling over if he wants to sign an extension there or not, and just I think you just lost Kirk. You saw what you had last year. I don't think Sam Darnold's the answer. This is where you take your, as you call him, more athletic Kirk Cousins, and you slide the
That
ball into that
is
offense.
that is the comp I gave him, and I'll just want to address JJ real quick. People will have
Yeah,
kind of since JJ started rising throughout this process, and people were kind of caught off guard with it and didn't think he's worth a first round pick at all. Um, stacking my board, I stack my board like I've said this a bunch. I'll say it again. I stack my board similar to how a lot of teams will actually try to do it in the sense that I don't have 32 first round picks. I'll have 10 to 20 on a given year, give or take. So a second round pick can easily be a top 20 player on my board. Right now, I'm not done. There's still players I have to get done with. You know, I suspect there's going to be a few corners that get put above JJ and push him down a little bit, but I have JJ at 14 overall right now, and I'm done with most of the consensus like top players.
yeah,
So for me, yeah, I don't have JJ as a first round grade, but at pick 11, when you need a quarterback, I'm perfectly comfortable taking JJ McCarthy at 11 when he's my 14th overall player.
mhm. Yeah.
Just
It
wanted
aligns. It aligns. I think it's a good spot for him. I think he can go anywhere, from like that six spot to the, 11, 12, 13 spots. I don't think he makes it past Minnesota. Let's just be real. But we'll move on to another QBDB team in the Denver Broncos at 12. Don't think either one of us are willing to take a quarterback here. Am I reading the room right?
technically I do have Bo Nix rated high enough,
Yeah,
but I don't want. I haven't gone back and redone and like cross checked it. I don't want to take Bo Nix here personally.
I wouldn't either. So which you're
I
thinking
kind of
at
would
Denver
lean.
Broncos.
I kind of would lean maybe Quinion Mitchell or Terrion Arnold.
Okay.
Um, if I'm recalling correctly, I'm gonna pull up their depth chart real quick. I don't think they really have like
Mm.
anybody opposite of
No, it's pretty
Sertan.
bare. It's pretty bare on the opposite side of Sertan. And yeah, to be blunt, I'm between Quinion. I think I like Quinion a little bit more than Terrion, but I mean, it's kind of a flip of a coin type thing. Or I would. This is where I would also be looking at Dallas Turner on the board and being like, man, I could use another. Hopefully, what I think is going to be Von Miller.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's also super valid. I think it just kind of feels like they have a logjam of like good, not great edges with Cooper, Perkins, Benito,
Mhm.
and Browning. And like even Drew Sanders can play the edge.
Yeah,
So it's like, do you just keep adding to that room or do you I don't know. I think I'm okay with adding Turner or corner. Um
yeah.
do you lean one way or the other?
I don't. Personally, if I'm sitting there and I have Patrick Surtain, I think I would probably lean Dallas Turner. I would think that I can find a cornerback to sit on the other side, but man, it's hard because I mean I Quinion and not Dallas Turner, Quinion and Patrick Surtain would be a nasty duo, or Terry and Arnold.
I think I think Quinion would fit this team better than Terrion Arnold. Not even speaking to rankings, but I kind of am thinking similar to what we've been talking about with other teams. Like, I think there's a bigger drop off in edge
Hmm.
than there is corner. I think they could get a solid starting corner in on day two
I agree.
more than they would be able to get a guy near Dallas Turner's level.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Dallas Turner is a good pick for him. We'll move over to 13 with the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, my lights are going crazy right now. It's a team that has a lot of question marks. I'd say all over, including their head coach. I necessarily don't think that they have Max Crosby. At the end of the day, their pass rush is kind of dirty actually. They performed when you don't think they would, and they're kind of carrying the team last year. Let's see, what kind of positions would they need? I never looked at them in the middle. Yeah, tackle. they could use a cornerback for sure. They always need a cornerback, and I feel like they
I,
always pick the wrong cornerback for the last decade. They always draft around one around
corner
pick cornerback, and they always fail.
corner is my immediate thought process here, considering like Nate Hobbs is a solid nickel, Bennett's solid and athletic, Jack Jones is a playmaker too. So like they have
Yeah.
actually like decent
Oh yeah,
corners,
that's what I was thinking of. Jack Jones.
but you know it's either it's corner, quarterback, and right tackle are the three things like I would look at immediately. So there's no quarterbacks here that we're comfortable with. Corner, we got Quinion that we can go with, or we can go with Latham at right tackle. I mean, I kind of think that you can roll with their current secondary more than you may want to roll with what they have on the right side of their offensive line right now. And I think if you potentially add a right tackle to this team, if he performs well, like Gardner Minshew could probably get this team to the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Gardner Minshew's a solid, bridge quarterback, but he's a guy that's going to win you games. Love him or hate him, and especially with having Zamir White now, that's going to have to carry the rock. And like we said before, you can get a decent, pretty much a starting cornerback in round 2 or round 3. So I'm in agreement. I think getting a right tackle would be a great spot here, especially to help Gardner Minshew and that running game that's going to have to pick it up a little bit now that Josh Jacobs is gone.
Yeah, this is kind of a steal here too. Mean they're getting the guy that's number 6 on my big board at 13. So
Yeah.
I can't deny the value.
Yeah,
The
I like it.
Saints.
So, yeah, we'll go to our arch nemesis, the Saints, right here. Kind of rolling back the same team minus Michael Thomas.
This team is they're in denial. This team needs to break down and just suck for a year and bite the bullet on the cap. But I mean, they've added Chase Young, they've added Willie. Like they're still going for it with Derek Carr.
Yeah,
Um,
they're in that denial phase, like kind of like we were, just thinking that we're always going to be able to get there, but just the talent's just not there for them. I mean, obviously they have some good, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, so they have some decent talent on the offensive side of the ball to supplement those defensive signings. Are you leaning towards any certain position here?
off off the top of my head, left tackle is the number one thing I'm thinking, or tackle in general, because number one, Trevor Penning sucks. They were doing
Yeah.
everything they can to work around and avoid having this guy play left tackle. And then
Mhm.
Ryan Ramczyk, supposedly by all reports, has this issue with his knee, and they're afraid he's not going to even be able to play football again. So my initial gut instinct is Troy Fadenu.
Yeah.
You could maybe make an argument or case for like Amarius Mims, but I'm not 14 high on Amarius Mims. But
Yeah, I think you could go ahead and go tackle here. You can go fun and replace Michael Thomas with another wide receiver because I mean A.T. Perry is kind of a downfield threat. They have a couple other guys. I'm drawing a blank right now, but no one really like that's like who?
Shaheed and Olave
That's
and
a
Perry.
Rashid. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed. And obviously Olave is great. So I was thinking a fun option, but no, realistically, if we're trying to build this team, especially trying to win now, that offensive line desperately needs to be fixed. Let Kamara have some room. Let Derek Carr actually have some time to pass the ball. So I'm in agreement. Troy Fontenot will be the pick here. So we'll move over to 15 with the Indianapolis Colts. Your boy AR is coming back, being healthy. They got some, they just made it to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. I would think Anthony Richardson can also get them there. What do you think about here to help AR out?
Do you want to do the fun pick?
I personally would. That's just my. I've ever since the draft came out and the order came out, and assuming that we're talking about Brock Bowers, and ever since I've seen this, I'm like, the fun pick was either the Chargers or the Colts for me. I think the Chargers are a little bit too high. to pick Brock Bowers here, especially with other needs. Granted, they desperately need it. And I think I would choose Malik Neighbors over Brock Bowers as well. Anyway, so my personal vote would be the Brock Bowers fun play.
There is rumors out there now, it is smokescreen season, but there's rumors that the Colts want to try to position themselves to get Bowers.
Mhm.
I think it makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of talent at tight end, but they don't have high end talent, and
Yeah,
their receiving talent is also like not very high end right now. Pittman's like good, not great. Like good enough to
yeah,
get paid, great, not great enough to be like a top tier guy.
yeah.
And I like Josh Downs for what Josh Downs is. I've never been a big Alec Pierce fan. I
No,
think Bowers could potentially add a lot to that offense. And you could do a lot of fun things probably with the way you could probably like boot out AR and have Bowers on some, choice routes or flats or something like that, and or, wiggles, and let him just get the ball and go. So
yeah.
I think
You give
that's
him
a
space. You can
pick.
design it. I mean, he could basically play like a big slot as well. And you still have your other guys in there. So there's a lot of things you can do with Brock Bowers. And I think, his blocking ability is good, not elite, but good. And then obviously what he can do in the receiving game is elite. So we'll move over to, yep,
I think I mean, yeah, not elite, but
it,
there's not a lot of tight ends I'm going to throw out the word elite for blocking,
okay.
like
So,
Rock and
no,
Kittle. I think you're low key like underrating his blocking. Like I think people have low key like started not rating Bowers' blocking properly. Like he may not be, who knows, he may not end up being the best run blocker at the next
mhm,
level, considering like George Pickens was an all-world run blocker at Georgia and
yeah,
doesn't try at it in the pros. But these guys coming from Georgia, and I'm saying this is not even a Georgia fan, like these guys coming from
yeah.
Georgia at the skill position put in effort blocking, even if they're not great at it. And Bowers is good at it. But
No, he's very good. I was just saying
on my
he's not.
rant, like Lad
Yeah,
McConkey actually tries at it much harder than many wide receivers, and Lad
yeah.
McConkey's small. Like
You're
Georgia,
not gonna play if you're
Georgia
not
coaches
kind
those guys right with run blocking. Truly,
no, I agree, and I mean, he's very, very good. I'm just saying he's just not elite. He's not gonna be like a George Kittle type or a guy that, some others that would be more of like a blocking tight end because we use him more out wide and, getting him into space. I mean, he's also our best receiver. But we'll move over to 16 with the Seattle Seahawks. Honestly, there's so many different things I can do. The only thing I would say no here is cornerback. Even though we have two cornerbacks that are starting to fall. What are you looking at here with Seattle Seahawks? Because there's one guy I'm kind of eyeing personally.
um, trying to match up something that works. I mean, I may be thinking like, or at 16. That's, I mean, might be controversial, but I mean, I may just say screw it and go with Quinion. Like,
Really,
but I do think you could add interior offensive line would be a legitimate thing to add to this team,
Mhm.
but realistically, there's not an interior offensive lineman that you're going to want to take at 16
No.
that we haven't already taken. Like Fuaga and Fanu are guys that have already been pulled off the board that may fit that bill. Um, who was the person you were eyeing?
Latu. Um, get him in
Right,
there.
fair enough. An
They
edge
have
would be
Boye
fair enough.
Mafe, Leonard Williams, Jared Reed as no tackle, so they have some talent there. I just think getting a I think Latu's so good. Like I would be willing to take all the way up
Oh
to 8
yeah, yeah.
personally.
I think Latu is
And
very, very
I
good.
think he's
Yeah.
getting so underrated. On the West Coast, the whole injury thing, he's extremely good. I think he just brings a huge spark into that defense. But I'm looking at their depth chart, and honestly, Quinion with Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon would be extremely fun to watch.
So I'm gonna pull up real quick over our spot track. I want to know what the deal is with. I know Tariq was like I want to say he's going into his third year. Like, is he due to get paid soon?
This is fourth year. No,
So
third
Tariq
year.
Woolen has his this coming year, 2024, and then he's got 2025. And then he'll be due for a contract at 27 years old or going into his age 27 season.
Mhm.
Because he came in, older as it
A little
is.
bit older.
Um, I mean, Quinon's also coming in a little bit older as well, but like Tariq Woolen, it was very short. It was, I think, to kind of send a message that you needed to put in more effort. But
Mhm.
Tariq Woolen got benched last year for his tackling. Um, this team, I don't know if they're going to necessarily want to pay him when the time comes either, like especially what he's going to want with his age. We've seen kind of issues happen with them being willing to pay their players at certain points too. We saw like Sherman, Thomas, uh, Byron
Yeah.
Maxwell, Brandon Browner, Bobby Wagner, like all leave over not being paid and such. I kind of think just I'm leaning take Quinion, and then
Let's do it
they're going to end up just letting him walk like down the
in like 2
road, so
years.
they
I
don't.
mean, it would be definitely a fun defensive back room with the Tariq Woolen, Devon Witherspoon, and Quinyon Mitchell. So I think we go ahead and give it that. Let's have some fun on the defensive side of the ball.
I,
We're gonna
I,
give
I think
Quinyon Mitchell
realistically
right now.
here, like if this was the way the board broke for them, number one, like I think they would be trying to move up and get Bowers over,
Mhm.
letting Indy just take him, or they try to move up again, Fanu or Latham before those get sniped. But worst comes to worst, they're stuck here. I think they would end up trading back, to be honest. But we're not gonna do trades.
No. So we'll move over to 17 with the
Jackson.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, I personally think they're just going to take whoever in this situation. If Seattle's going cornerback, I think I'd be wanting just Quinion or Terrion, whichever one you don't choose. So that's just my take personally.
Yeah, I like that.
I
I
also
I
do love
think
Latu here personally, just because we've already talked about it. Kind of fixed a mistake they made a couple years ago.
yeah. So that was going to be my first, I guess, response is that if you're taking Latu, you're almost admitting that your guy that you just took number one overall is a bust.
And if we're doing that,
Which I think
I'm
it's a
not willing
hard
to
pill to
admit that.
swallow.
Yeah, I'm not willing to
Yeah,
admit that if I'm drafting here, which is why I lean Terry on here.
I do kind of think Trayvon Walker showed some flashes and improved last year. I don't know if I'm willing to say he's definitely not what he should be versus like what they passed on.
Mhm.
But the silver lining is I do think he kind of showed improvement. But yeah, I
Yeah, no,
mean
he did.
they're rolling out Ronald Darby, who's
Yep, that's the main
beyond.
reason that
Yeah, but
you
I
pull up the
think I'm
depth chart, I
with you
see
on
Ronald
Trey
Darby.
Arnold.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think cornerback here is just they're happy that they both fell this far, so I'm just taking them here if I'm there, man. Like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow to admit that you made the wrong decision not drafting Aiden Hutchinson back then. So I think you got to get him another year or two before you do that. Plus, I'm pretty sure they just paid Josh Allen today, right? Or
Yes,
is it
or
yesterday?
like yeah,
Yeah,
within the last 2 days or so, like they paid
yeah.
Josh
So
Allen big
they do
time.
Josh Allen, which obviously him and Latu would be nasty. But we're gonna go to the defensive side of the ball. Terry Arnold, 18 Cincinnati Bengals. I got a lot of ideas here, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I think so. They just brought in Trent Brown for right tackle.
Yeah,
Um, I don't have a lot of faith in Trent Brown at right tackle at this point in his career. Jackson Carmen's not really worked out well. T. Higgins, I have no idea if they're gonna end up trading him or not. And then outside of they got Higgins and Chase, and then they have uh, a couple like upside type of wide receivers that they're working with. Um, Corner is also an option here too. I think. What
yeah.
are your?
I think after Quinion and Terrion left off the board, I mean, I think that's I wouldn't necessarily go corner here.
You wouldn't
Obviously, the
you wouldn't feel comfortable with DeJean or Kool Aid here? I
I
know
mean, I'd be
Kool-Aid's been
okay with it,
falling
but
or
yeah.
falling, but like I don't know. I haven't finished the full on evaluating Kool-Aid,
Mhm. Yeah,
but
I would be
it's,
okay with it, but personally, I'm obviously looking on the offensive side of the ball, and the main thing is everyone ever since Joe Burrow became quarterback there is to protect Burrow, draft offensive linemen. They've done that kind of hit and miss. Like I said, they brought in Trent Brown. I'm not too familiar with the talent on that offensive side. I know Trent Brown and Orlando Brown, obviously, on the two bookends, but as far as the guards and center position, I'm not necessarily so sure about them personally, but I'm under the impression that, like, according to all reports, if again, this is if we're the Cincinnati Bengals front office, we have not spoken to T. Higgins since we tagged him. He has not spoken to us. We have not spoken to them. I think he's on the outs. Whether he plays this year or not, maybe. It'd be great. We want him to play with us, but if there's an opportunity for us to trade him for some real serious value, I think that's something that you jump at. And for me personally, I'm looking at wide receiver. I also obviously like offensive line, but I'm looking at wide receiver. After Chase is pretty bare. We saw that all throughout last year. I mean, Tyler Boyd, he's got to be retiring soon. And if you don't have T. Higgins, I mean,
well,
Andre
Boyd's a free
Iosivas.
agent. He's sitting out there
Oh,
in
he's a
free
free
agent.
agent. Okay, so he's not even there anymore. So if we're on the outs with T. Higgins and we have Jamar Chase, obviously, we don't really have anyone else to back him up. I mean, what is it Charlie Brown and Andre Iosivas? If I'm saying the last name
Charlie
correctly.
Jones
Charlie
in
Jones.
each
Yeah.
of us. I
Yeah.
don't know if I said that right, but
Yeah, and
Andre.
they're solid guys, but at the end of the day, they're late round picks. And I'm sitting here, looking at the board right now, and I got guys like Brian Thomas Jr., Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, all sitting there, and I'm like, that might be kind of fun to add them into that wide receiver room, especially now that we don't have Tyler Boyd as of right now, and we're pretty much on the outs with T Higgins. Let's be real, because we don't really necessarily want to pay him.
I get what you're saying. I don't know. So I struggle with wanting to invest this high in AD Mitchell truly, and then I struggle with how I think Brian Thomas will truly be able to work with Joe Burrow in the sense that, like, I don't know. I'm overthinking that. I think Brian Thomas would be my pick here if you're wanting to go wide receiver. I have Brian
Yeah,
Thomas rated high enough to where I feel comfortable with that pick too.
yeah. Personally, I'm looking at wide receiver here. I think I need to supplement Joe Burrow with some more weapons, especially now that Joe Mixon's also gone. He's probably gonna be throwing a little bit more. I'm not sure if Chase Brown's the answer, especially just as a straight up running back. So, me personally, I'm giving my boy some more weapons and giving him a wide receiver.
Are you good with me doing Brian Thomas over
Yeah, I'm
AD?
cool. I'm cool. I mean, I love Eddie, but I'm there. There's so many people that rate Brian Thomas that high, and I rate him high. He would probably be the guy right underneath 80 for me. However, I'm cool with either one. I
Yeah, I
get
mean,
the skill set.
Brian
I
Thomas
get the
is
skill set.
rated right below AD for me. It's just AD. I think when you have them stacked like that for me, and I didn't intentionally like stack them, but when I
Mhm.
see them stacked like that, and then I see the red flag that I would have on AD's profile for like his in-game effort, it would make me lean Brian Thomas over him personally.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. Moving over to 19, Los Angeles Rams. Um, Me personally, my boy, I keep mentioning over and over again. I see Latu fell all the way to me. I just lost Aaron Donald. I don't know how I'm going to be getting some pass rush going. I don't believe they have Leonard Floyd anymore either. So I know they had who's the rookie that they just had? He probably should have won rookie of the
Byron
year,
Young.
but didn't. Yeah, no, not Byron Young.
Oh,
Um,
Kobe Turner. Kobe Turner's
Kobe Turner.
interior.
Yeah,
But Byron
but
Young had a good year on the edge too.
yeah, he did. He was a guy I remember we were targeting around 2, round 3 in our mock drafts. Uh, but I'm still I don't know if I can pass up Latu here. Add him to that defensive line. Uh, Matt Stafford's kind of on his way out, but he still has the talent. And obviously, you just hit on Puka Nakua. You have Cooper Cup still, so you still have the makings of what could be a really, really good team. And you had Latu to that defensive line, it could make up for any shortcomings, in the secondary that they might have.
Yeah, actually, so I mean, Latu is pretty much the highest rated player left on my board. I think he fits
Mm.
um, well with what they could actually use to in that room right now or in that franchise, especially with Aaron Donald leaving. So I'm good with Latu if you're good with
Yeah.
Latu.
No, 100%. I think that's gonna be a really, really good pairing. Like I said, I'm a big fan of stacking that defensive line, and it can make up for shortcomings in the secondary if needed. But we'll move over to pick number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have two new quarterbacks, obviously. They have two good running backs. They have, well, now one wide receiver, couple tight ends, but at the end of the day, they have Arthur Smith, so it doesn't really matter who they have. What you're looking at here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because there's I'm kind of torn in what direction I would go personally. So I want to hear your thoughts first.
Um, Number one, how dare you erase the legend that is Van Jefferson, Atlanta legend there.
Yeah, they also
Nah, but
signed. Yeah,
on oh, this sounds so rude to say, but I think AD Mitchell fits really well with the tradition of diva wide receivers. There, I'm not saying AD Mitchell's a diva or anything like that, but um, it would just be interesting
mhm.
considering his concerns of how hard he plays.
Have you
Um,
seen their? Hold on, have you seen their wide receiver room like in
oh,
full?
it's pretty bad once you get past Pickens, and then
It's
Pickens is like
Pickens. Yeah, it's Pickens, and then a
Van
room of,
Jefferson and Quez Watkins.
yep, them two: Denzel Mims, Calvin Austin, Des Fitzpatrick, Marquez Callaway. Just a bunch of
So
those
I
guys
mean,
that you see on like the ends of dynasty rosters that people just
yeah,
won't give up.
like I think AD would be the pick for me here. My only it's just my concern is like there's something about wide receivers going to Pittsburgh that something with the personality there. So I don't know. Something never works out right.
Don't they also? They don't typically draft round one wide receivers, isn't that a
They
thing?
don't actually. No, I
Yeah,
can't
isn't that
remember
like
the
a
last
thing?
time. I don't remember the last time they took one if they've even ever
Yeah.
done that. I kind of want to look now.
My opinion, and we're gonna stay with similar a pattern they've shown recently, and semi pattern if they did 80 because obviously he started his career at Georgia. But what would you think about Amarius Mims? I know they just drafted Broderick Jones, but pair them back up.
I'd be okay with it they if they have a plan for how they're going to be doing this because it looks like they have Broderick penciled in at right tackle. But I mean, Dan Moore was not very good either. How old is Dan Moore? Is only 25. Has he ever been good?
Was
That's
it
part of
fourth
this
round pick? I
here.
think.
If Dan Moore's never been good, then that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, because I mean, to me, I'm thinking like, wouldn't it be fun to pair the Georgia guys back
oh
up
no, he's
together?
never been good.
Yeah, and you have Russell Wilson now and Justin Fields, and just kind of giving them a little bit of protection. Obviously, wide receivers a desperate need for them, but I think it just getting your two bookends, Amarius Mims, and then the guy who just drafted last year, and Broderick Jones would be an ideal spot for the Steelers, in my opinion. Here,
Yeah, I like it. I mean, Broderick Jones was my top tackle last year. I have a lot of faith in
Mhm.
that he's actually going to end up better than what it came off last year. And then
Yeah,
Mims has a lot of upside. I think the Steelers probably would love, that upside
Mhm.
play. I feel like they
and also
typically team
it's
that.
two guys that are really used to run blocking as well.
Yeah, no, I'm good with Amarius. I'm just looking at their draft history right now to verify
Mhm.
what we were talking about.
Oh, about the wide receivers, I just think it's like a thing. If I'm not mistaken, like it was like a thing
They have
that
a whole lot of they have a whole lot of day two picks that they invest in it. And it's funny because they'll invest round one capital in running backs.
yeah,
Antonio Holmes in 2006.
was the last round one.
That's the
Damn.
last round one, last time they took a wide receiver in round one. And then before that, Plaxico in 2000. And then Troy Edwards in 2000, in 99. So, like, I mean, they've taken 3 wide receivers in the first round in the last 25 years.
Yeah. So I don't think that's their MO anymore. But you're in it. I mean, Arthur Smith's there now, so who knows what they're going to draft here.
No, I'm cool with Amir Smith. I'll pencil
Okay,
that
cool.
in.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do Marius Mims there. We're going to move over to pick number 21, Miami Dolphins, that high flying offense. Obviously, if I'm not mistaken, they made some solid additions on the defensive side of the ball as well. It's a division that it's kind of up for the taking now. I mean, you obviously have New England rebuilding, New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, and that defense. But I don't think I'm not as high on the Jets as I wasn't before last year, and I'm not this year either. And then you have Buffalo Bills, who kind of seem in turmoil and trying to figure out what they're going to do. We'll see what they draft here coming up soon. But it's a division that Miami can clearly win. You have Tua, obviously Reek and Jalen Waddle. Uh, Solid offensive lineman. Wouldn't say anything too special. You obviously Devon A. Chain at running back. Not like there's gonna be a running back who drafted in the first round this year anyway, but they have a guy for the future. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Jordan Poyer and Kendall Fuller. That's who I was thinking of. So I know they made some and Shaquille Barrett. Okay, cool. So yeah, they definitely made a lot of moves for
They
them.
signed a lot of old guys. They're
Yeah, a
retiring.
lot of veterans trying to win. Trying
But
to win.
I
Yeah.
mean, I have a guy that stands out to me that I would be interested in, and you can feel free to disagree. Byron Murphy,
No, I'm
for
definitely cool about Murphy here.
the interior defensive line. That would be the first thing that sticks out. They just lost Wilkins. Um,
That's right. Yeah.
they have Benito Jones penciled in as like a starting nose for them, which I mean, I guess like they're in their nickel looks like he comes off the field anyways, and they slide
Mhm.
Sealer in hand in and let like Chubb and Jalen Phillips just going to let that play the edges, but I think
Yeah.
Murphy played nose at Texas enough.
Mhm.
Funny enough, like he was the nose and T'Vondre Sweat was playing three tech, but it was like kind of like one of those things where Murphy was clearly like playing a more penetrating type nose situation.
Mhm.
I think he's a freak athlete, and I think he's got some high upside to him. So I mean, I would be it. That would be my vote.
No, I'm 100% cool with that. I mean, it'd be just be a nasty threesome on the defensive side of the ball where, you know, you still have Josh Allen at the end of the day, and you're going to have Aaron Rodgers also. So getting guys that can wreak havoc on them, I'm always cool with. And
The
we'll move
Eagles are
to the
an
Eagles.
interesting team to draft every single year. What UGA player can we get to them now?
Yeah, I know. That's basically what it is. I don't even know what my next highest UGA player would be in this situation. I mean, honestly, count AD Mitchell, which you don't, but kind of Lad.
Lad McConkey. I mean, the
We're
Eagles. Looking
sneaky.
at their team, they made the move for Bryce Huff. Cool. I like Bryce Huff enough. They brought in Devin White on kind of like that prove it deal. So they kind of addressed linebacker somewhat. They kind of addressed edge a little bit.
Mhm.
And then they still have Nolan, waiting in the wings with. So their edge room is going to be pretty deep. Their Fletcher Cox retired, but I mean Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and then Moro Ojimo was a guy I was super high on that they ended up with too.
Yeah,
But he didn't play a lot last year. I mean, number one is that third wide receiver spot's not great,
no.
but who really like?
Well,
I
they
feel
did
like
just bring in Devontae Parker.
yeah, yeah.
I know, but
But I mean, like when you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, and then they brought in Paris Campbell too, and Saquon, like I a third, and then Dallas Goedert too. Like a third wide receiver shouldn't be what we're looking at in the first round. I feel like I think corner is like
that's
the ideal thing here.
to me that's the only position that made a draft right now is corner. You got James Bradbury, CJ, Garner Johnson, and Darius Slay, obviously. Um, Ringo, Ricks, a couple of Josh Jobe, a couple of SEC guys that they've drafted recently in the very low rounds who, they've gotten playing time, shown some flashes, but I don't think anything much. And you already got, your defensive line. They're really good at doing the whole like stockpiling their guys, knowing that other guys are going to be on their way out. So they already have their replacements on the team. So they do a very good job of that. However, I think this, the cornerback room specifically is a little bit on the older end. And we saw, one injury, two injuries, and it's not very pretty for them. So they made the move with like Kevin Byard last year. Didn't really work out for them. I'm not necessarily sure if it was his fault or if it maybe a Philly thing because he was really good in Tennessee. So I don't know what happened, but anyway, I'm looking at defensive back room, specifically the cornerback position here.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a feel for like what kind of corner would fit here the best. So I mean, we've had Cooper DeJean fall, we've got
Yeah,
Kool-Aid, and we've got Wiggins on the board. You know, Philly brought in Ricks. Ricks had some terrible athletic testing, so that affects how this is averaged. But on average, they like to have their corners are typically a little bit taller, a little bit more athletic than league average. Where I'm at now is they got CJ. They brought back CJ Gardner Johnson, and then they have Sidney Brown, who like I like Sidney Brown as a rotational safety. My and then Reed Blankenship was like a solid. He's a solid like depth piece. I don't
hmm
love Reed Blankenship as my starting free safety. I'm kind of leaning Cooper DeJean here. You let Cooper. Most people I think are
start
starting to
at
see
safety.
him more as most people are starting to see him more as a safety than a corner. I think that was my opinion, for the most part, but I haven't like dove in on grading him, and I don't want to say that's where I'm definitely at yet. But either you're getting a guy that's going to be able to slot in as a young corner for you, or you're getting a guy that's going to be able to immediately be your free safety that's proven to be like a absolute ball hawk, and adds value there.
Yeah.
So I think either way, like you're getting a guy that can help your secondary, but that's where I'm
I,
at.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the perfect pick. That's who I was looking at as well because he can play. I think he can play the cornerback position in the NFL. However, if I'm wrong and he needs to slide to safety, he can immediately be a pretty damn good, probably a high end safety in the
There's
NFL.
nothing.
And you can play both positions, and you already have guys in the cornerback room. So if you even think that he can be a cornerback but needs to learn a little bit, he could play both out the gate and kind of learn from some of these veterans. So when he can take over next year, kind of like the whole mold of the Eagles is always, go ahead and draft your replacement a year or two early. So he could
Yeah,
be that replacement and still play on the field being a safety and corner at the same time. Like,
and there's nothing wrong with like if there's nothing wrong with playing a guy at corner and then like sliding him to safety if it's not
yeah,
working out well. I think people kind of get down on that for first round guys sometimes. So, but like Malcolm Jenkins was one of the best safeties like of the 2000s
yeah.
early 2010s pretty much, and like that's exactly what he was. He was a corner when he went pro from Ohio State, and then like didn't work out that well in New Orleans before they just like let him play safety, and he became one of the best safeties in the league.
Mhm.
um so I mean, and I think Cooper DeJean adds a lot of value beyond just like playing on defense. Like he's a good returner, and dude's a ball hawk.
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
think he can do a lot for that team.
I think he's getting underrated now. Personally, I think he's been sliding down. Like he was injured, right? So he didn't test. He's not going to test anything. So it's one of those things where I just think 40 times and shuttles and vert and everything. So I think he's just getting kind of sliding down the draft boards for really no reason, personally. But we'll move over to pick 23 with the Minnesota Vikings. Are back on the clock. We already got JJ McCarthy.
I think realistically, I think this pick is going to belong to someone else on draft day.
I agree.
Um, Probably the Chargers, I'd guess. But my initial thought process after adding JJ with and looking at this team is like maybe Johnny Newton, maybe Kool-Aid, Those are my two gut
Yeah,
reactions.
I'm immediately looking on the defensive side of the ball as well. I was, you know me, I was looking at wide receiver as well. Their wide receiver three isn't anything special, but I think that's a position that they could fill elsewhere. Yeah, exactly. They
Yeah,
already
you
have.
got Jordan Addison and Justin
Yeah,
Jefferson.
exactly. That's why I'm saying I'm not going there. I'm saying, knowing me, I like to look there. Yeah, the defensive side of the ball. They don't really have they don't really have much pass rush. I mean, they did just sign Jonathan Grenard, so give them that. But outside of him, nothing really to write home about. Um, but they
Uh,
also definitely need another cornerback.
yeah, I like Van Geekel. Van Geekel's
You,
not bad actually.
but yeah, I guess he did show up last year. Didn't he go through like a bunch of injuries last year? If I'm not mistaken.
Um, I don't know about that, but I can.
Maybe I'm thinking of
I'm
someone
pulling up
else.
his PFF profile. Like he had a 90 something grade last year on PFF, which that's actually like pretty dang rare.
Yeah,
Um,
but he's not necessarily like a blitzer off the edge as a linebacker, is he? That's not
no,
what I
yeah,
remember seeing him at
he's
Miami.
like a pass rusher type actually.
He
He
is.
had 8
Even
sacks
when
last
yeah,
year.
at 8. Okay, I was definitely sleeping on Van Ginkel then because I remember seeing him and stuff, but you can't miss that hair. But I guess yeah, with Ivan Pace being there, okay, maybe it is an underrated pass rusher.
Yeah, and Pace. So like Pace is that kind of
Yeah, I mean,
interesting guy where
I
like he's a.
I know you know Pace. That
I
was your boy
love
last
Eugene
year.
Pace, but it's like he's
Yeah,
an interesting guy where like he's good Russian passer, but like he's also just like a dog and like as a
yeah,
linebacker. And then they also brought in Blake Cashman, who's like my other like
yeah.
guy at linebacker. So like it's I gotta give is it Kwesi? Is that how you say his name?
I don't know how to say it exactly.
Kwesi Adolfo Minsa. I gotta give Kwesi some props. Me and him have the same taste in linebackers. Um,
That is your ideal linebacker room right there.
but yeah, so for reference though, Van Ginkel last year on true pass sets had a 27% win rate, which is like TJ Watt had 20, Nick had 29, Parsons was 31, Hutchinson was 28. So like Van Ginkel on true pass sets was getting wins. And then like
Okay,
even on all pass, or all, rushes combined, his win rate was 18%, which is like in line with is better than TJ Watt's, in line with Bosa's, in line with um, Josh Allen, Alex Highsmith, Khalil Mack. Like Van Geekel's a pretty good pass rusher.
I must have been. I mean, I remember seeing him with Miami, but I didn't know he had like 8 sacks. And he was that had that high of a uh, rush pass,
Yeah,
whatever rate,
he's their number
a
7
win
pass
rate.
rusher rated last year on PFF.
Damn. Okay, I see you. Um, honestly, after hearing all that, I'm kind of down for John Newton. You put him in the middle of all that chaos, eat up some blockers, and he's a pretty damn good athlete himself. He's not the biggest guy. He's not going to be one of those like 300, DeAndre Sweat guys that can eat up 2 or 3 tackles just by standing there. But he's gonna be a guy that you can't sleep on either. Because he
Yeah,
definitely has some pass rush ability to him, and you add him to that defensive line group, that would be kind of fun.
I mean they got John, like Jerry Tillery. Like I was very high on him coming out, but they got Jerry Tillery penciled in as their starting D tackle. Like I wanted Jerry Tillery to be good. That game he had his junior year or against Stanford was all time college tape, but he has not been a good pro thus far. I mean, I think we're kind of now in alignment that like you add in Newton, who's probably the best D tackle left on the board. Um, I think he could be pretty dang good for this team.
Yeah,
Um, there's another DT that I kind of would maybe make a case for, but as of right now, I think it's a little bit rich for most people. But
mhm.
I
Yeah. I'm
I
not
kind of
saying
want to
anyone
make a
I would
case for
think of.
Michael Hall.
Yeah, I figured that's who it was, but I think I have to go John Newton here. Like we talked about in our defensive tackle video, like he's extremely safe. Plus, he's your second
Yeah,
defensive tackle, like ranked. So I think we have to go with Johnny Newton here. I think turn that Minnesota's needed defense for a while. And I think they can slowly build one with that, that front seven is going to be absolutely insane. And then hopefully JJ McCarthy can be the athletic Kirk Cousins, and you know that offense can continue to roll. But we'll move over to pick number 24 with the Dallas Cowboys. You're gonna be under the microscope with this one. So what are you looking at here?
Immediately is it offensive line or wide receiver to me. And I haven't really graded out interior guys yet, but I do know that I am a fan of a guy that I graded Graham Barden initially as a tackle in the summer. I still kind of want to grade him as a tackle, but I'm just moving him into the interior for, I guess, convenience.
Mm-hmm.
I think Graham Barden would probably be my choice here, actually.
He's a guy that can play across the line pretty much, right? Like he has experience
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he could literally play all 5 spots. And, Tyler Smith's, we know he's good. We know Zach Martin's good. And then outside of that, like, there's 3 spots they got to fill with quality players to protect Dak here. And because this may be their last, like, hurrah trying to make a run with Dak. I think
he's getting to that point.
Yeah. I think if it's not Graham Barden, like, you're going to – it's like you got to talk about maybe like Tyler Guyton or Jackson Power Johnson or something like that. But that's my personal pick.
Yeah, Jackson Power Johnson is the only guy I was thinking here because he's easily the best center on the board. He might be the best offensive lineman left technically rated, but I think in this situation, a guy who has experience playing all 5 of the offensive lineman positions, probably going to settle in somewhere at guard most likely, but can also play center. So he's a guy that I think is going to be a starter for a while, and you don't know what position he's going to play, but he's going to be there rather than taking like a tackle only and then trying to flip him to as a guard or into like right tackle eventually. So I'm definitely down for Graham Barton here, especially knowing his versatility.
Yeah, you want to give them a third wide receiver, like looking at like the fact that like Brandon Cooks is aging and CD's. We know CD's great, but dude, like when you literally look at that team and realize what their offensive line's looking like now.
So, yeah, not to go on a rant about Dak Prescott, but I guess you could call me a truther for Dak Prescott because I think he gets so much hate, and half the time he has no time. He had no time last year to throw the ball. There was nothing he could do.
I think he
does it a lot. He does a lot himself. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he doesn't make mistakes, but there was so many times. So by the time he hit his plant foot, even before that, he's getting pressured, and there was just nothing he could do about it.
I mean, I'll throw out the hot take here. I'll draw the line in the sand. I'm always willing to throw out opinions with this kind of stuff. Dak Prescott is overhated. Dak Prescott is also probably not as good as what people would want him to be. I don't think, like, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. I feel like I've said the same thing maybe about like Cousins. Although Kirk Cousins is now obviously the top 3 quarterback in the league and perfectly capable of winning a Super Bowl for a franchise. But, I think Dak Prescott's always just going to fall in that category of like the 6 to 10 range of quarterbacks that like I don't think is really that. I know he's not carrying a team to a Super Bowl unless all the things align in his favor. And I felt that way about Matthew Stafford for a long time. And I kind of still do.
He's not a guy who can win it on his own. Like you put him on the Chiefs this past year, and he's not winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think you got Mahomes and Josh Allen, and that may be it in terms of quarterbacks right now that could.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Joe Burrow, we've seen it,
and Herbert. I think Herbert could do it.
Yeah, Herbert. I don't know. I'm getting more iffy year by year. But
all I'm going to throw out with Herbert is you look at that one game that he didn't play and how bad they lost.
Yeah, I know.
That team
but
is dog crap without him.
it was, and I mean, I still believe in his talent, but as far as a guy who can win it on their own, I mean, it's just those two guys, and I'm pretty sure I would say I'm willing to say Joe Burrow as well. He just has to stay healthy, and that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean Burrow. I mean, this is a whole different conversation, but I think there
Yeah,
is an argument for the tiers and stuff like that, and we can discuss that post draft. Actually, I think that's probably a good discussion post draft.
yeah. We'll move to the 25. Green Bay Packers, electric team this past year. Kind of surprised a lot of people. If maybe I was on the wrong side of that, because I was definitely surprised for them. Uh, Biggest thing for me with them is they're losing Bakhtiari. Not like he was, young and fresh and everything, but he was a staple on their line. They have a solid receiving room. I'm not sure if they're necessarily as good as people want to say they are, but they performed last year, and that's all that really matters if they perform. So they're good. Obviously, Jordan Love looks like he's really good. Learning behind Aaron Rodgers, I guess, for a little bit definitely helped. Uh, for me, I'm also looking at offensive line. What about you?
I mean, I think there's options all over the place. I think this team is very good, not great across the board. Like, I mean, there's obviously there's positions that they are great at. Like, Jair is an elite corner. Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark are very, very good.
Yeah.
Um, like, but and Josh Jacobs is, I guess, good running back too. But like, there's uh across the board, like this team is very good starters wise. It's just there's not a lot of like spots I would definitely say is like avoidable or spots that I wouldn't want to draft. I mean, offensive line, yeah, it makes sense, but like Zach Tom and Rasheed Walker are also decent enough last year to where like they may not be, they don't may not feel like they're in a like painted into a corner having to take offensive lineman.
I guess so. But what would you be looking at then? Is it in a situation just like as a just best player available type thing?
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think this through here. Like, I don't love their linebackers, their off-ball linebackers, but like I'm nowhere near taking
Yeah,
an off-ball linebacker this high.
yeah.
Um,
So I'll say the guys I was looking at. For me, I was thinking Tyler Guyton, tackle, put him on that
yeah,
line. I was also looking at possibly Kool Aid in the situation. I know they have Eric Stokes, but who else do they have? Eric Stokes
Jair
and Jair. Duh, I'm stupid. But Eric Stokes, first round pick, but I'll even admit that he's not playing up, fully up to that. But
has he been
getting
bad?
that
I
depth.
don't know off the top
I
of my
don't think he's
head.
been bad. He hasn't been bad. He suffered that injury, and then uh, whatchamacallit, I don't know. I just you don't hear his name very often. But I was also looking at Chop Robinson personally. Um, Obviously you have Gary. You said you have
Oof.
Kenny Clark, but I think at this point you might just be willing to take you know what the upside that is Chop Robinson. Yeah, you have Lucas Van Ness as well. So you have guys there, like you said, they're pretty solid all the way across the board at starters. At this point, you kind of take your shots on who could become an elite level player. And for me, he has the skill set, the athleticism to become an elite level player.
Um, yeah, I mean, Chop is like you said, it's he's a pure upside play. I kind of does fall in line with Green Bay's philosophy. It seems like I feel like Green Bay is very big on like the athletic upside and athletic testing.
Yeah,
Like, I kind of want to do Kool Aid, like you said initially, because I think that I like Kool Aid and Nate Wiggins are the two guys that I look at that I could
yeah.
see. I don't know if they'd feel comfortable with Nate Wiggins with his weight specifically, but like,
I don't. I personally don't see Nate as a Green Bay cornerback. I don't see him in a Green Bay uniform. That's just not the kind of guy that I think they look for.
Stokes has been pretty bad, though, having looked it up, like according to PFF. But I don't think Kool Aid is athletic enough for them I feel like I know
That's
that
fair.
sounds weird because like I don't think Kool Aid's unathletic, but I think they're like have a clear philosophy of like athleticism and RAS like draft style.
Mhm.
It kind of makes me do think that like they would maybe look at like Chop Robinson or like Tyler Guyton or something like that over a corner, even though I think your corner is probably better for them.
I think corner is better, but what would you do? Let's boil it down to that. I know we're acting as Green Bay, but so we gotta kind of follow their model. However, knowing what you know and who fell, what are you gonna do?
Oh, their metrics actually are not great. I would go Kool Aid
Okay,
personally, but
so let's just go
if
cornerback.
you want to make a case for Guyton or Chop, I'm willing to hear you out here. If you don't agree with
Yeah.
Kool Aid,
No, I agree with Kool Aid. Um,
okay.
I was kind of thinking the upside. I mean, I personally, for me, like offensive linemen are my forte. So I necessarily wasn't necessarily sure about how what Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom played. So if you said they played perfectly fine last year, I'll roll with that, and I'm definitely down for Kool Aid.
Yeah, I mean Walker was like Tom was a top 20 graded tackle, top 15 graded tackle,
Oh yeah.
and Walker is like you know around the 50th percentile, so he's pretty much buck average.
Hmm.
Um, so and I mean, like I said, Stokes like he was bad coming back this year, and he hasn't been very good like even earlier in his career. Um, it kind of yeah, I like I'm still a fan of Kool Aid overall,
I am too.
and I think Kool Aid is a good corner still, and I get the Chop Robinson argument, but like Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, and then they just took Van Ness last year. That it kind of makes me like lean away from that almost.
Yeah, that's probably fine. So we'll move over 26 to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Brought back Baker, brought back Mike Evans. So they're clearly going for it again. I mean, they just won the division, so why wouldn't you? Um, we got some, so they got some real talent. I'm looking at their depth chart, and I didn't think
They
they were going
won
to be
the
that good.
division last year, the NFC South. That's like
I know.
insert whatever culturally or non-politically correct joke you want to make there about um,
Yeah,
just
it
all the
wasn't very
worst
good.
teams, the worst division in the NFL fighting for the
Yeah,
win.
exactly. But they have some good talent. I mean, all across the board. I mean, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, even Trey Palmer's pretty good. Tristan Wirfs, Cody Mock, your boy Baker, Ricard White. Still got Logan Hall, Vita Vea, Elijah Cansey, Joe Tryland, Shohinka, Lamonte David. So they got a lot of guys, to be honest. Um, this is another play that you're. I think it's just another. I'd be wanting to make another high upside play, wouldn't you?
My initial two guys that come to mind are um, Jackson Powers Johnson or Nate Wiggins. Those are the two people that
Mhm.
I immediately think of. Although I'm willing to hear out any other,
It would just be
opinion.
Chop again. I guess I got an obsession with Chop. That's the only other one I would be thinking of in this situation. I think Nate Wiggins fits them well. I think they definitely could use a center, especially now that they're rolling with Baker. I'm kind of leaving Powers Johnson looking at this depth chart, looking at what they got. I think a center.
I think Chop could
Uh,
fit too. I'm not to sell you short. The thing about they do have like depth there, but like
yeah,
George Ryan Shoinka hasn't been like as good as like what you would want. Randy Gregory, who knows? Like even if they're gonna, if like Lord knows, Randy Gregory's probably gonna do something stupid in the middle of the year, get cut, and end up playing for like Dallas, like and trying to make a
yeah.
Super Bowl run. Diaby is a high upside guy that's still learning. I mean, yeah, like throwing in Chop actually, yeah, like Chop, Wiggins, and Powers Johnson are probably the three guys that I think do make a lot of sense for them still.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be Chop or Wiggins for me.
I'm gonna give you Chop here because I feel like I've
Okay.
dictated other ones.
Okay. That works. Yeah. I
And,
mean,
and
I just
I'm
think also, like, I think they believe that their offense can roll enough, but they do have now a division with Kirk Cousins. I mean, you
I
have a
mean
division with Bryce Young.
that offense is good aside from like the interior. Like
Yeah.
they just need to add a little bit to the offensive line, but like they can still do that easily, not in the
Mhm.
first round. I
Yeah, I
think Chop
agree.
as an edge provides a lot more value now and in the future for what like he could potentially be than like what a
Yeah,
center could possibly be.
exactly. That's the high upside play. And what I was getting at was like you're in a division. I mean, Bryce Young has a little bit of legs, but not he's not scrambling. So you're in a division with three quarterbacks that aren't going to really be extreme. They're not going to be Lamar Jackson. They're not going to be Justin Fields. Not even going to be Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen. So like I think attacking that with Chop Robinson would be perfect for, unfortunately, for the Bucks, because you have a bunch of guys that aren't very mobile. So you continue to get after those quarterbacks. That's kind of what I was leaning at. But we'll move
No,
to
yeah, I
27.
get that for sure.
Move to 27 with Arizona again. They already gave him Marvin Harrison, obviously slam dunk pick. Uh, got Kyler Murray. Not obviously not. What is their offensive line looking like? I know they have Jonah Williams.
Not
Who do they
great.
have?
I mean, they
I was
added
gonna say,
Jonah Williams and they
is
got
it
Paris
still not
Johnson.
great? Yeah, yeah, I mean, obviously Paris Johnson, but Will Hernandez, Elijah Wilkerson. Yeah, I think I have to go offensive line. I know they definitely need some defensive backs as well, but I don't know, man. I
They,
they've
they need
needed
they need defensive players for sure. Still,
yeah, but they've needed offensive linemen for ever before Kyler Murray, let alone since Kyler Murray. But then I'm looking
yeah,
at Nate Wiggins. I am looking at Nate Wiggins on the board though. That's
I mean,
that seemed like I
yeah,
feel like
I
that's
think
a good
Nate
fit,
Wiggins
right?
could fit. I think Nate Wiggins could fit. I think, um, I mean, I think Powers Johnson or something like that could fit as well. Um, I mean, shoot, like Lad McConkey could still fit. I mean,
You double
or
up
like
on first round wide receivers.
another wide receiver. But I know, like, yeah, back to back first round wide receivers it does sound kind of like dumb in some way. Um, I think I may be with you on like Wiggins or offensive line. I'm cool with
It's
either
definitely
one.
one of those. It's definitely one of those two. What can you tell me about? Uh,
I haven't
um,
dove deep on Jackson Powers Johnson yet.
okay. Well, no, I was gonna. I was gonna. I was. That's what I was leaning towards. Their center currently projected is going to be Jolt Boyholt. Don't know who that is.
Oh,
Um,
he's actually not bad. Like he was. I mean, he's like kind of an average player last year. It's Wilkinson's the big.
that's. I mean, yeah, I'm
Uh,
looking at Wilkinson. I mean, we know Wilkinson pretty well. Unfortunately, so that's the spot I'm looking at as well. But I just don't know if I could draft another offensive lineman that's not Jackson Power Johnson here, knowing they have Paris Johnson as well.
I mean,
Obviously,
so I Jackson Powers Johnson. I want to say he's able to play multiple spots across the line. I want to say he played other like he's played center, but I want to say he's played guard as well.
I mean, if he's
In
played guard,
college.
I'm all in on Jackson Power Johnson here. That'd just be the guy I'd take.
So he played center all of 2023. He played some center and some. He played 350 snaps out of four. So he pretty much played right guard last year. He played center or
Okay,
played center in 2023. Played right guard in 2022, and then 2021 he had snaps at both guard spots, but primarily right guard. And then he had some snaps on the defensive line.
oh wow, okay, yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
Um,
JPJ right here. Get him on both sides of the ball. Who cares? No, I'm kidding. But no, I think that'd be a good pick then. you let him come in, compete for the center job, or you try him out. You have plenty of time to try him out at different positions. You see what he's most comfortable at. I mean, obviously you're targeting that left guard role on the projected lineup right now, but uh, maybe he could beat out for center as well, and Troy Holt moves to left guard. I can't. If Kyler Murray has Elijah Wilkinson starting as left guard, that's bad,
I
very
like
bad.
Jackson Hunter-Johnson here, actually. I'm trying to see how
All
much
right,
he weighed in at the combine. I'm just curious, but I actually think he fits well.
yeah. Let's go with JPJ here. We'll move to 28 with the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, big news is they just lost, traded away, I should say, uh, Stephon Diggs. So, are we going for another receiver here to replace Diggs?
I think it would be beneficial. It just depends on what kind of style of offense we're trying to do here. I think, I mean, AD Mitchell is very clearly the highest rated player I've left. I just it like the red flag I have on his profile just
Yeah.
bugs me really. It just really bugs me.
Have you
Um,
seen their
and then like
starting
Xavier,
receiving?
sorry.
Have you seen their starting receiving room right now, projected wise?
I mean, it's Khalil Shakir, and then
Curtis
nobody's.
Samuel.
I mean, it's
Curtis Samuel
either for
has
me, it'd be one of the
like
Texas guys still.
yeah. I mean, that's just a bad receiving room. You cannot have Josh Allen walking in there. You have to go wide receiver, in my opinion. Here, you can't let them go. Having that wide receiver room being your starting guys. So yeah, I think it's definitely one of the Texas guys. You know who I'm leaning. Um, I
I
know
think
he
I'm
has
gonna
bags
agree with
game,
you
but
on it.
okay. I think he's just a
I think
much better
it
all
makes
around
sense from a
receiver.
body perspective.
Yeah, I'm used. We talked about it in the other episode. Like Xavier Worthy. I don't know if he's necessarily that all around kind of receiver. AD Mitchell, I think, can be that all around receiver.
Uh, I think he could be. I don't, but I think at the worst, I think you're getting, or at baseline, I think you're getting a very good possession wide receiver. Which I mean, you don't. Dalton Kincaid can kind of fulfill that role in a lot of ways, but
Yes.
I think I think AD Mitchell has has some upside, and I think you got to play that upside with how big he is and how athletic he is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it should be. I would love this pick for the Buffalo Bills. But we'll move to 29 with the Detroit Lions. Crazy that they're finally drafting this high. We usually, or I should have said low. They're usually up there in that top 10. So now we're sitting here at 29, fresh off of almost making it to the Super Bowl, and some say that they should have made it to the Super Bowl. What are you thinking here? Because this team's obviously they got a lot of positions filled in. They have a lot of talent across the board. Obviously, do you believe in Jared Goff? Still, who knows? What say you? What do you think they should do here? I mean, they did the biggest
I would sprint it in with Nate Wiggins.
hole. That's what I would say. The biggest hole is Darner Johnson gone. Do you just replace him?
Well, and then Cam Sutton
That's right.
may or may not be incarcerated. I don't really know.
Yeah, I forgot about the Cam Sutton thing. I think they
Uh,
released him. They released him, so he's not on the
oh,
team.
they did for
Yeah,
yeah, and I mean
yeah,
that they need a corner before
yeah.
that even. So I would be sprinting
Honestly,
it
yeah.
in for Nate Wiggins.
Honestly, I completely forgot about the Cam Sutton thing. Yeah, this is their perfect pick then. They're sitting there with Nate Wiggins on the board. You're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely game for that. So we will move over to pick 30, the Baltimore Ravens. Um,
I'll let you take this one away because this one's near and dear to your heart.
I wouldn't say it's near and dear to my heart, but it's a team that I'm starting to, root for
I'll tell
more
her.
and
I'll
more.
tell her you said that.
No, don't say that. I might get
Mm.
disowned. But it's a team that obviously, you can pencil in for the playoffs. They're in a hard division, but they're going to make it in. They have some serious talent across the board. They did lose. I guess they supplemented with him. So let's see what is available. Let's just say best available. Honestly, can look at wide receiver again. Honestly, I think they
Yeah,
just
it's so bad that like
I know, yet
It would be
again.
what? Would it be like 3 straight years or something like that at least, or like
It
3 out of the last like
I
40
was
years?
looking it up, and I think they drafted like 5 first-round wide receivers in the last, like, 20 years, which is a lot, compared to, what most teams do. Um,
I kind of like Xavier Worthy would be my gut because it's like Zay Flowers is a smaller guy, yeah, but he's not a deep, like pure deep
yeah,
threat wide receiver. He's
no,
kind of that like
he fits
that guy.
he fits it like that video game offense. I mean, you have Lamar Jackson, now you have Derrick Henry back there, and then you have yeah, if you add in Xavier Worthy's speed with Zay Flowers in that little like short game, there's a lot. Now you don't have that big guy, and I'm a big fan of you. You need that like alpha type of receiver, but there's not one that I would take right here.
I mean, do you feel comfortable though? Like, I kind of would feel comfortable like Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely filling that like
Yeah, that
big
is very true. You
role.
still you still do have Isaiah Likely there, and you get him more run because he's usually playing a backup role whenever Mark Andrews is healthy, but you let him get more playing time while you have these two smaller receivers running around. Um, that's the one thing is Lamar Jackson can throw the ball deep. He can. He has that arm. So it's like you get him that deep threat. He hasn't had that deep threat. I mean, Rashad Bateman, I guess, is supposed to be that deep threat, but I don't necessarily think he's that very, very good. So yeah, I think it's fun. I think it fits well. So I'm in agreement. Um, let's go ahead and give him Xavier Worthy if you're cool with
I
it.
think the
I, I
underrated
think
thing here is that like you kind of hit on it, but you get Zay Flowers and Xavier Worthy's speed. They're going to stretch that defense, vertically, and then you're opening up a lot of space underneath here for number one Lamar to run. Number two, like it's going to make it harder to stack the box against Derrick Henry, which I know Derrick Henry's aging and stuff, but like Derrick Henry is still big, strong running
yeah,
back, and if you can't stack the box against him, he's going to pick up chunk yardage because he's going to be able to break a tackle here and there. And
yeah. I
then it
mean,
also
he's
stretches
he's
the
still
field
Derrick
and
Henry.
allows Mark Andrews space underneath.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a field stretcher, and it just opens up more of the field to let Lamar run around, to let Derrick Henry get some space to start moving. Let Zay Flowers be open underneath. Like you have so much space there. And then of course, if they start playing in, Xavier Worthy is going to hit him over the top of the touchdown. As long as he can catch the ball, because that's his big thing. And we've already seen it with another deep threat that they drafted in the first round that was having issues catching the ball there. So as long as he can catch the ball, I think it would work wonderful. So we'll move
It is
over to
debatable if he can catch.
yeah, that's the big thing. We'll move over to 31 with the San Francisco 49ers. I'll let you think away what you think that they should do. There's just one guy that I think that is kind of like a pencil him in that's still on the board personally for me.
My first instinct would be probably Tyler Guyton. To be honest, I
That's
don't
it.
love
That's
Tyler
my guy.
Guyton as a prospect. Okay, yeah, I don't love him as a prospect overall. Like after having graded him, but I do see the potential, and I think
Mhm.
um, he would work well with the scheme, the zone scheme,
Yeah,
in the way he can move, and
and they need offensive linemen desperately, and he's like
yeah,
6'7", 6'8". Like he's huge.
yeah, he's the big guy, but he's got movement ability, like he can move well. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think this is around the sweet spot of like where I would value him and where I would probably be comfortable taking him, even though like he's one of those guys that grades out higher for me than like I feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Malik Willis was I throw that out often, but like Malik Willis is one like he graded higher for me than I felt, and
Mhm.
you know it sometimes what happens, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but
No, yeah. I agree. I mean, I think we're in agreement here. Tyler Guyton's probably the pick. I think they just whatever offensive lineman is still there outside of a trade back, so you can get your offensive lineman in round two and grab some extra draft capital. I think that's the perfect pick for them. And we will wrap it up with the Kansas City Chiefs at 32, the Super Bowl champs. Um, biggest thing here, obviously, is the Rasheed Rice situation. Um, you probably understand it a little bit more than I do, being a lawyer and all. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm saying this as a fantasy owner, but being realistic, I just see him missing 4 to 6 games this year. At the end of the day, that's all I see. Not really gonna have jail time.
yeah,
Like a lot of the talk of like the drugs and the weapons and all that didn't come to fruition. That wasn't there. The cops didn't see it. He wasn't charged with anything like that. So
I actually don't know what he was charged with off the top of my head.
it was
I haven't
like
seen what the arrest warrant was. Faces 8 felony charges, 6 counts of collision involving bodily injury, count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated assault.
mhm. I know it's a state by state thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up right now.
Yeah, because this was in
What,
Texas,
what
and I believe
Texas has some odd laws, to be honest, where like if you mess something up in Texas, like you face like weird penalties at times.
yeah,
But I don't do criminal work like
yeah.
at all. So
I
I'm
expect
trying
you
to.
probably understand a little bit more. But while you're talking about it,
Oh,
even before the Rashi Rice situation, I personally felt that they need to go after a wide receiver. He's great, and obviously they had to move Rice around to get him open in space to get him the ball. Um, Travis Kelce getting up there in age, he's still the ball out, but you need more weapons for Patrick Mahomes. I know that sounds crazy coming off a Super Bowl with really no weapons, but how how many times can he do that? Like I'm obviously a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. I believe he can do it every year, but being realistic here, I don't think that you give him that same receiving core and he can continuously win over and over and over again. Their defense obviously has shown, to mass improvement over the last couple of years, and they were top five, top seven defense this past year. That's all you really need with Patrick Mahomes. So for me, the hard thing here is the receivers available aren't necessarily ones I want to take in the first round. But at 32, that's more second round territory, especially like you always talk about with your grades. You only have like 20 to 25 first round grades, and then there's a huge chunk afterwards of second round grades. And that's the situation we're in. So right in here, you're taking your chances on a guy like Alab McConkey, Troy Franklin, Malachi Corley, Xavier Leggett even. And if you're a Keon Coleman fan, me personally, I'm not. So I'm still looking at a wide receiver room. It's just which type of receiver you want.
I'm just trying to. I don't understand the charges in the sense that I want to know why they're charging him with aggravated assault. Um,
Because I
I'll
think
just.
he rammed a car, like another car, and it hurt someone.
So that's just not the way the statute reads to me personally, unless there's something I don't know that's going on. But the way the statute reads to me is that you have to be driving and either shooting a gun,
Mhm.
you're reckless. Okay, so I guess you're reckless as to if the vehicle is occupied. I guess that's how they're doing it. But in discharge, no, that's they're he has to have been shooting a gun to be charged with this and to work, unless like the person he hit is like a cop or something like that, or like a public servant, quote unquote. Because it says it's a felony if the actor is in a motor vehicle and knowingly discharges a firearm at a building or vehicle, is reckless if that building or vehicle is occupied, and is discharging the firearm causes serious injury. So either I completely can't read criminal statutes, which is totally possible, it would be really embarrassing, or they're trying to allege that I don't know. I'd have to go deep into it beyond what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I think you're spot on. I think Rashid Rice is probably going to get suspended. I don't think he's doing jail time. I think it's going to be fine, community service type shit. Um, if I'm the Chiefs, I think Rice is your slot guy, and work around the suspension. I kind of don't want to draft Corley to slot into that.
Mhm.
Or Leggett. Honestly, like I think Leggett may work
I
better
think
as a
he's too raw, but I also think he's a little bit too raw for what they need right now. Do you want to take a chance on another developmental guy?
So I kind of think that I think a raw wide receiver is almost perfect for them if they're confident he can be coached well. Because like They don't need I personally don't think Patrick Mahomes or the Chiefs need like a technician receiver, because that team is always going to be they play scramble drill so often, and they're very good at it. Um, I just think you need a guy that's got reliable hands.
Yeah.
Is my thought.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, I think it'd be maybe either Leggett or Lad here if I'm
Mhm.
really,
I was kind of
picking.
alluding to Lad, but I don't want to sound like a homer. Lad going to my boy Patrick
No,
Mahomes.
I mean,
I think
Lad.
he's a
I think
safe he's a
Lad's a
safe
top
guy.
30 player.
Yeah, he's a safe guy that you know has that speed. He can play on the outside. He can play in the slot. Yeah, he's not the prototypical alpha receiver, but like you said, he rarely is Patrick Mahomes just standing in the pocket, drop back, read one, read two, throw the ball. There's a lot of scramble drills, a lot of trick plays, there's a lot of designs to get people open. And you give him a guy like Lad, or Xavier Leggett. I like both personally, and those are the two guys I would be eyeing as well. My only hesitation with the Leggett is like we talked about on the wide receiver episode with him, is that it took him forever to finally break out. Once he did, amazing stuff, but he's a little bit older. He took a while to put it all together at the wide receiver position. Just how much more of a ceiling does he have? And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Xavier Leggett would actually be kind of fun. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. I'm like, man, I don't know.
I,
It's ladder Leggett. It's definitely ladder Leggett here.
when I'm thinking about it too, though, I kind of lean Leggett over Lad, not in a talent sense, but in the just the a fit sense, because I think you get Rice their slot, and then they just signed Hollywood. I view Hollywood. I don't know. I
Yeah,
may be wrong. I think of Hollywood more as a Z than an X.
yeah.
Um,
That sounds fair.
which for reference for anyone who wouldn't realize is like the Z lines up off the line of scrimmage, the X lines up on the line of scrimmage. Typically speaking, the X is like a bigger wide receiver that
Yeah,
has more body to him, whereas the Z is kind of this speedy type that can stretch the field. Typically Z's aren't as good at getting off like press coverage and such, which is why they line up at Z, because they're not on the line of scrimmage, so they have a little bit more space before the DB can get to them, so they get like a couple extra steps basically. Whereas Leggett's a big, strong guy, and I think he can fit and play X, whereas Lad's a very polished receiver, but I view Lad as a slot and Z more than an X at all.
that's fair. So let's go ahead and give him Xavier again. I think, obviously, biasly, I would love to see Lad here, and I think that'd be a great pick. I do, but I do think Xavier Leggett has that chance to grow into that X role. He's still explosive. He ran like a sub 4.3, so he still has all that talent. Just like we said, it took him a while to put it all together. He finally did in his last year, a little bit older. But I think he can slide right into the X role. Like you said,
Yeah,
Hollywood out in the sea. And then you still have Travis Kelsey. You still have Rasheed Rice, depending on how long he gets suspended for, assuming he gets suspended, of course. And Patrick Mahomes looks dangerous again, probably likely to win another Super Bowl.
yeah. I mean, I like for a disclaimer, I do have Lad rated higher than Leggett.
So do
Um,
I.
yeah, it's just like one of those things where when you really look at it and think about the fit of it, it's the difference between like trying to build a Madden team or fantasy team versus like how a team might actually want to build their real life team in the draft. You know, a team that's got smaller guys all the time already. They got multiple slot and Z receivers. Probably is not going to look to draft another slot and Z receiver, because at some point
Yeah.
they have to have somebody that can play X.
But that's going to wrap it up for this mock draft 3.0. A little bit of a longer episode, but we wanted to dive into exactly what we were looking at, kind of our ideas of why we were choosing these guys, who are the other options we might be looking at, and just the reasons behind everything. This will not be our final mock draft. We will make a final one right before the NFL actual draft occurs in exactly 2 weeks from now. So go ahead and follow us on all social media platforms at empirical_scout. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and click the like and subscribe button below. And for Taylor, I'm Taylor, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
1, 2,